Before starting the sales process, salespeople need to first find potential sales leads. There are several methods one can use when finding sales leads. One method is cold calling. Cold calling is when a salesperson contacts sales leads unannounced and with little to no information about the lead. A referral is another method that can be used. This is when an individual or company is given to a salesperson as a lead, usually by a current customer or prospect that decided not to buy at the time. Another method is networking. Networking is used when salespeople join professional organizations to build relationships with potential sales. These are just a few of the methods that were mentioned, but there are many others. We'll look at how Cassie, the representative for Presto Tablets, uses some of these methods to generate her sales leads. The first step of the sales process is prospecting. In order for salespeople to be successful, they'll need to use strategic prospecting. This will help them identify, qualify, and prioritize their prospects. Looking at the sales funnel, the first step is for the salesperson to identify their sales leads. These are individuals or organizations who might purchase the product or service that the salesperson is trying to sell. The next step is to qualify the sales leads. These individuals or organizations have to have a need for the product or service, have the financial resources to purchase the product or service, and need to have the authority to make the purchase. The last step is prioritizing the sales prospects. Once the sales prospects are found, they need to be prioritized to make sure that the most time is being spent on the best opportunities. As Cassie moves through this process, she will begin to find her sales prospects for the tablets.
I started off my prospecting process by identifying local restaurants in the Grand Forks area. I listed them by qualifications and prioritized them based on average amount of customers that come to their restaurants, menu prices, and the amount of menu items. After doing more research on these restaurants and doing some cold calling to each of them, Rhombus Guys is the prospect I decided to pursue.
Okay, so now we just saw Cassie identify Rhombus Guys Brewery as a prospect she's going to pursue. We're going to discuss some pre-approach activities. First, creating sales dialogue. That is when you take information from the prospecting and you're going to create effective sales dialogue. To create effective sales dialogue, you're going to identify, diagnose, and clarify unsatisfied needs or problems the buyer has. This is going to show the buyer how much better off they'll be with the product or service you are offering. To have an effective sales dialogue, it needs to be planned and practiced. It needs to encourage buyer feedback, focus on creating value for the buyer, as well as engage the buyer, and lastly, support customer value through any objective claims. Like I said before, you need to use the information from prospecting found on on the business to create the FABs, the FABs, the features, advantages, benefits the product or service has for the company. Last, I'm going to go over gatekeeper. This is someone you'll have to go through to get an appointment to talk with the buyer. It's important to be approachable to the gatekeeper because they are someone that is an important aspect of the sales process. Overall, they have control of the buyer's schedule, so it's always important to have a good relationship or develop a good relationship with the gatekeeper because not only, like I just said, do they have the buyer's schedule, but they also have an informal power on their decision.
As part of my pre-approach process, I decided to visit Rhombus Guys Brewery to check out the atmosphere and experience dining there. I found more information on Rhombus Guys Brewery, which helped me create a list of their features, advantages, and benefits. This helped me prepare myself for my first meeting with Larissa.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Cassie Thompson.
Jill Grill.
I work with Presto. We're a travel company that goes into businesses, restaurants, and kind of helps with their customer service.
Okay.
I was just wondering if I can meet with Larissa Julick just to see if she'd be interested in our tablets to help our customer relationship a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. Larissa's actually busy with the next 2 weeks, but a month from now is probably the earliest I can get you in for an opening to meet with her. Would that work for you?
That definitely works for me. If anything does open up in the next few days, here's my contact information. Just give me a call.
Awesome.
All right. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, hold the door closed. I got you. You wouldn't mind me asking, but are you Larissa Julick?
Yeah, I am.
Hi, nice to to meet you, Cassie Thompson.
Hi, nice to meet you as
So
well.
I'm with Presto. We're a tablet company. We implement our tablets into restaurants to kind of help your customer service relationships. Would that be something? Would you ever have time to meet to talk about that?
Yeah, possibly.
How does like next Tuesday around 8 a.m. sound?
That sounds great. I could definitely get a cup of coffee.
All right, that sounds good. I'll give you my card and I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, I know I've got a really busy, next 2 weeks coming up here. Do you have everything set up? All my conference rooms are prepared.
Yep, everything's set up. And actually, I just met with Cassie Thompson. She works for Presto, and she seemed very personable and nice. And I think it'd be worth your time to sit down and talk to her about this new tablet that she's got.
Okay, perfect. I trust you. You've been working with me for 5 years. Just put her in during one of my lunch periods in these next couple days. We'll make time for her.
Awesome, we'll do.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Gino. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Larissa's actually waiting inside for you.
Perfect. I'll head on in.
Awesome.
The next step is the approach. Using prospecting information and sales dialogue, you're going to create spin questions and set up the plan for addressing the customer's needs and creating specific dialogue for and to the customer. Note that you want to pay attention to your environment. Look around to gather information about the buyer to create friendly questions to build a relationship and evaluate the culture that could reflect the company's values and atmosphere. An example would be when Cassie notices a picture of Larissa's kids in her office and comments on how cute they are. It not only breaks the ice, but starts to build that trust-based relationship and makes Larissa happy to talk about her life outside work. In addition, present yourself in a professional manner and be aware of your posture, gesture, eye contact, attitude, and other nonverbal cues. You also want to be aware and read your buyer's nonverbal signals and cues as well. To go in further depth on the approach, we are going to talk about spin questions. These questions are meant to help uncover the buyer's current situation, discover problems, and help the buyer become aware of the consequences if they do not buy your product or service. This all helps bring the buyer to the understanding awareness of the situation you are addressing. We're going to start with S. These are situation questions. These questions address the buyer's needs and their expectations from you and your company's service to them. Next, we have P, which are problem questions. They're general situation questions to discover current problems and dissatisfaction that you can address for them. I is implication questions. This assists the buyer's thinking towards the consequences of not solving the problem you can fix and helping them want to solve this problem that you're addressing. Last is N. These are need payoff questions. These questions are used to propose a solution and start to gain commitment from the buyer. Now let's watch how Cassie applies these questions in her meeting with Rhombus Guys Brewery.
How do your current servers and waiters handle customer needs and payments?
Given that they are college students, they're not always the best at being aware of when customers need help, need service, or are ready for their bill, and when to just let them eat and enjoy their meals.
What kind of problems have you encountered with your waiters serving on your customers?
I've definitely seen slow service, and I've noticed that my servers they're noticeably uncertain with the timing of when to approach customers and when they need something.
How does this problem affect your customer satisfaction?
I've actually been noticing that it's causing my customers to be unhappy because their needs as customers aren't being met, and they've been even showing their concerns that they've been experiencing long waiting times.
Would having an accessible tablet available for whenever your customers need something help prevent customer dissatisfaction from so long of a wait time?
I never thought about that, but I definitely think it could help eliminate wait times and better serve my customers.
Tablet at your table or at the bar kind of help customer dissatisfaction and help your waiters kind of control that time management?
I never really thought of that as an option, but I definitely think if there's something more accessible, that could potentially help our customer ratings.
Would you be willing to talk a little bit more about the features, advantages, and benefits of this?
Yeah, I'd definitely be willing to hear what you have to say.
Next, moving on to the sales presentation. The main point of the sales presentation is to identify the FABs for Rhombus Guys Brewery. That's going to be the features, advantages, and benefits of implementing the tablets into the business. First, starting off, a CAM presentation is a sales presentation that includes scripted sales calls, memorized presentations, automated presentations that include computer graphics or slides to present the presentation. It's most often used with a narrow product line or an inexperienced sales force. Going on from that, a written sales proposal is a complete self-contained sales presentation that often is accompanied by other sales dialogue before and after the proposal is delivered. A written sales proposal is often used in high dollar value and important sales transactions. Just to clarify, with a written sales proposal, you need to make sure a thorough customer assessment has taken place. It has clear information on all areas of the business and make sure to avoid any company jargon and poor layouts that don't address company objectives. Lastly, organized sales dialogues and presentations are the most preferred about going about sales presentations by all salespeople because it really involves high level of customer involvement. First, talking about organized sales dialogue, this is a chance for a salesperson to seek more information on a customer's needs and action from the prospect, as well as explore the business reasons a prospect has for continuing sales dialogue. Lastly, that leads to organized sales presentation. This addresses individual customers in different sales situations, and that's why it's most preferred because you aren't treating all buyers the same. This allows flexibility to adapt to buyer feedback, and that is why all salespeople need to be knowledgeable because they need to be able to address any questions as well as react to any objections. This shows how to implement trust-based relationship selling. Now let's watch Cassie handle the sales presentation.
So by implementing the tablets in Rhombus Guys Brewery, I think you'd see a huge satisfaction in your staff, your waiters. They don't have to run around trying to manage 10 tables. Customers are also very satisfied by this because they can put their products in by themselves. As you can see, I do have a list of our features, advantages, and benefits here. Customers have also stated that they feel more secure. The data has shown that when they get to run their own cart, that does create a sense of security for them. How does all this sound?
Sounds very interesting. I did not realize that it would also make my customers feel more secure by having tablets in my restaurant.
Yes, very definitely. So the convenience that these tablets are going to create not only for your servers but for your consumers is kind of by like most customers don't like to wait to order appetizers or get a refill on their drink. And that's going to help your waiters by not even having to know when they need to check on them. They're just going to see it pop up on their screen right away. Also, by touching on the security a little bit more, they're just going to have more peace of mind so their card's not being taken in the back. They get to swipe it themselves, write the tip, leave the check, and you're good to go.
Step in the sales process. Today we'll be talking about 8 of those ways to handle objections. The first being forestalling, direct denial, indirect denial, translation or boomerang, compensation, questions, third-party reinforcement, feel, felt, found, and coming to that. So forestalling is when the salesperson addresses the concerns during the presentation even before the buyer has a chance to ask it. Direct denial is when the salesperson tells the customer that he or she is wrong. Indirect denial, the salesperson takes a little bit more softer approach when addressing a customer's concerns. Translation or boomerang is when the salesperson converts like a possible concern or objection into a reason to buy. Compensation is when the salesperson justifies the concern with a benefit or an extra feature. Questions is when the salesperson asks, again, a more in-depth question to find the need of the consumer. The third-party reinforcement is when the salesperson uses data to support their findings and to overcome an objection that the buyer might have. Feel addresses the concern of being doubtful and tells a success story of a client with the same concerns and situation turning out really well. And then finally, coming to that is when the salesperson addresses the customer that the concern that they have will be addressed later on in the presentation. And now let's take a look and see how Cassie and Larissa are doing in their conversation.
Okay, so this all sounds really great. I do have a couple concerns. I'm a little concerned, given that Grand Forks is a little bit sometimes of an older town, I'm a little worried about how they're going to adapt to the technology of the tablets and having that on the tables versus servers.
No, I definitely understand that. So you are still gonna have servers. You're still gonna have that interaction, that human interaction that the old-fashioned type is used to. But I think you are in a very college-based bar scene town. So getting this generation to use them is gonna be huge. I think you could even start with getting 8 to 10 tablets, starting them at the bar, like slowly implementing them into your restaurant, and then when that kind of takes off, then you include them in all your tables. That sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds great so far. Then another concern I'm having right now, though, is cost. Technology, I'm going to have to constantly updating that if this trend goes out. It's a lot of money for me to put up as a small business owner.
No, I definitely see that. If you see our cost breakdown here on the screen, so for 8 tablets, it is $5,000. That includes, we will come put them in for you. We will train all your staff. We will train you. It will also include all the software. We will load your menu onto it. So with this, your opportunity costs are going to be like, you're not going to have to hire as many servers, and your training costs are going to get down because you're not going to be consistently rehiring and hiring people. Other than that, you're kind of going to be able to move customers in and out quicker, which will also like create a higher profit for you because customers aren't going to be sitting waiting for their bill all night. How does that sound?
Those are all really good points. I'm going to definitely take what you have in consideration, and let's talk again and look into getting tablets at my store.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last part of the sales presentation process is closing the sale. This is when you've gained commitment from the buyer. So we're going to be talking about 5 of them today. Direct commitment, alternative legitimate choice, summary commitment, T-count or balance sheet commitment, and success story commitment. Direct commitment is when the salesperson directly asks the buyer, do you want to buy, or like sign the documents to get through it and buy this product. Alternative choice or legitimate choice is when you ask the prospect to select from 2 or 3 different choices. Summary commitment is when you go over all the agreed on benefits with the buyer so that they agree, they're nodding their head, they are agreeing with everything that you're saying. T-account is when you actually draw out a balance sheet and you write all the benefits on one side and then you write all their concerns and you try to see and point out like all the benefits that outweigh these concerns. And then finally, success story commitment is that's when you link a client in the past with you and work with you. They were in the same situation as this buyer is now, and they bought the products and service and they couldn't be happy with them. And the biggest thing when closing a sale is when do you do it? And you look for the signs. You look for positive feedback from the buyer. You look for the positive body language and also good facial expressions. And that's when you actually go through with these different methods of closing the sale. So now we're going to look and see how Cassie is going to close this sale with Larissa.
So I reviewed and looked over the data you gave me last time. I'm just still have a couple questions before we move forward. I am still a little concerned about the cost. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a small business owner, and so by even putting out a couple thousand with technology and that being a little risky, I'm still concerned that my investment might fail.
I completely understand all that. Like we talked about last time, I do think for the 8 tablets training, we'll put your menu on there, we'll bring them in, we'll set them up. I do think that's a really good deal just for you're going to be able to hire less servers, you're not going to be constantly hiring people, and the technology is constantly growing, so I think the cost will, the technology will outweigh that part. So with all of that being said, would you rather start in the bar side or would you rather start more with the tables?
The bars seem like a pretty good idea to me, but that's my other concern. It's just the culture. I do get a lot of families around here, not always college students, so I'm still very concerned that they're not going to adapt to the technology as well as the college students might. I'm going to lose those customers I've built relationships with.
Definitely. So I do think Grand Forks has a college town feel to it. I do understand that you are worried about the family style sit down, but I do think if you start with the bars that'll reach more of that college younger age type, and then as you slowly implement it into the tables, that kind of lets people adapt to it. I did have another customer who was very concerned with the same things you are, and they started in the bars for the first 6 months and slowly implemented the tables, and this allowed their consumers and customers time to adapt to these and kind of like learned how to work them a little bit. And now they are very successful, and I could see your company being even more successful with these than they've been. How does all that sound?
That sounds really good.
All right, so are we ready to drop the papers and put them in your bars?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.